Oftentimes there are parallels between two shows that are worth exploring. Maybe there are similar ideas, and maybe they have similar problems. Today we are looking at two different dud episodes from two different shows. I find it interesting how two different shows made years apart could have episodes that share many of the same flaws. To begin, let me give some background. Let's start with Eddy and Eddy. Its basic premise is about three friends who have all sorts of slapstick-filled adventures in their neighborhood or school. There's Eddy, the hot-headed leader, Double D, the smart one, and Ed, the dumb muscle. For the purpose of this review, I would also like to mention Rolf.
A discharge niblet for Rolf? Confess to your crime, stale end piece of white bread!
Did Rolf just jump into that barrel of tree sap?
Eddy and Eddy is a master of slapstick, managing to be consistently funny with fantastic timing and fantastic characters. Next is My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. The main strength of the show is its characters. While they're quite archetypical, the show managed to make them very likable and very iconic. In case you haven't seen the original show, let me give a rundown of some of its characters. For the purpose of this review, I really only need to talk about three of them. There's Twilight Sparkle, the main character more or less. Basically, she's smart and she likes books and friendship. Also in season 1, she tended to summarize a moral at the end of the episode. Next is Pinkie Pie, who's super energetic, loves parties, and can be unintentionally annoying. And then there's Spike, Twilight Sparkle's dragon assistant / companion / slave. There's more to their characters, of course, but that's really all you need to know right now. Now let's get into the basic plot of both episodes. In Sorry Wrong Ed, Eddy stumbles upon Rolf trying to bury a phone. Eddy likes said phone because he thinks it looks cool. Eddy takes the phone home before it is revealed that the phone is cursed! Dun-dun-dun!
Yellow?
Eddy tries to deal with the curse while Double D regularly announces how ridiculous he finds the idea of a phone being cursed.
Telephones aren't cursed, Eddy! They're plastic!
And Ed is just Ed.
Eddy's in pain now, he'll have to call you back!
Most of the episode consists of Eddy suffering and Double D being smug. In Feeling Pinkie Keen, Twilight stumbles upon Pinkie Pie acting weird.
Twitchy, twitch.
Turns out it's because of what she calls her Pinkie sense. Basically a form of future prediction based on involuntary body movements. Twilight is skeptical and she tries to more or less figure out Pinkie's Pinkie sense scientifically. After escaping a Hydra, Twilight ends up converting to a belief in the Pinkie sense for literally no reason.
I can't fight it anymore. I don't understand how, why, or what. But Pinkie sense somehow makes sense. I don't see how it does, but it just does. Just because I don't understand doesn't mean it's not true.
Both episodes certainly have some similarities right out of the gate. First, there's a supernatural phenomenon. Then there's a believer and a straw skeptic. There's also a fair amount of slapstick in both as well. Although in Sorry Wrong Ed, the believer is on the receiving end of the slapstick, while that role is fulfilled by the skeptic in Feeling Pinkie Keen. Now, given that this is Good Shows Gone Bad, you can assume that I'm not a big fan of either episode. The problems I have with these episodes tie into one of the overall problems of their respective shows, but the interesting thing is that said problems are very different for the two cartoons. Eddy and Eddy can sometimes be too cruel. It's a comedy that does rely on suffering as a major source of laughter, but in doing so, it makes it so that when the comedy fails, the show becomes more uncomfortable than anything. It's hard to laugh when you just feel bad for Eddy. This is further compounded by just how unpleasant some of the characters can be. In Sorry Wrong Ed, Eddy faces an endless barrage of suffering while Double D is only concerned with insulting Eddy.
Aha! Proof positive! These unfortunate incidents have been nothing more than coincidence. Look around you, Eddy, and what do you see? Nothing. Do you see a phone? I don't see a phone. No phone, no curse.
My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, however, does not have a problem with cruelty. Instead, the problem that Feeling Pinkie Keen has is related to its morals. Sometimes the morals that are delivered in MLP are not always thought completely through. What can I say, this show is no Arthur. In Sorry Wrong Ed, after Eddy acquires the phone, the basic formula goes a bit like this. Eddy answers the phone, something bad happens to him, repeat. The comedy even starts to feel repetitive with this constant cycle. And as said before, as the comedy fails, the show becomes more and more uncomfortable. Feeling Pinkie keen has a similar pattern to Sorry Wrong Ed. After Twilight finds out about the Pinkie sense, she tries to investigate. She observes Pinkie Pie and then something painful happens to her. Feeling Pinkie keen, however, is not as cruel as Sorry Wrong Ed, if just because of how Twilight doesn't seem to be fazed by her injuries, which is certainly a contrast to Eddy's pleading. Sorry Wrong Ed has one saving grace for its comedy, however.
I know where you're going with this, Eddy! Nighty-night! Good morning, tree!
It's hard to explain just what about Ed is so funny to me, but let's just say there's a reason he's one of my favorite characters. As for Feeling Pinkie keen, I have often heard people say that this episode's comedy is its greatest aspect, and I can't say I agree. Quite simply, I don't think this episode is funny. Slapstick is not really this show's strength. The particular gags of this episode are not really all that creative either. While not as uncomfortable as Sorry Wrong Ed, it doesn't really have any standout comedic moments for me. It may be a bit unfair to compare the slapstick of a show like MLP to the slapstick of Eddy and Eddy, given that slapstick is the greatest strength of Eddy and Eddy, but I think comparing the two helps illustrate my problems with Feeling Pinkie keen. Maybe I've been spoiled by Eddy and Eddy, but with just how well constructed and just plain imaginative and creative the slapstick moments in that show were, I can't help but see Feeling Pinkie keen as a disappointment in this regard. So yeah, as infuriating as Sorry Wrong Ed can get, I do still think that it's funnier than Feeling Pinkie keen in multiple ways. If just for Ed. But Feeling Pinkie keen triumphs in one area over Sorry Wrong Ed. In Feeling Pinkie keen, the characters are far more likable. Mostly because there is no character in that episode who is as irritating as Double D. And ultimately, Double D is Sorry Wrong Ed's greatest flaw. Basically, Double D is a straw skeptic taken to a horrible extreme. While Feeling Pinkie keen also has a straw skeptic, she isn't nearly as antagonistic as Double D. Plus, she's kind of the one suffering. Hell, even Pinkie Pie remains more likable than Double D, and she's the one who's not meant to suffer. Let's return to the conclusion of Feeling Pinkie keen. You know, I would have actually preferred it if Twilight didn't believe in the Pinkie sense. It's just a better moral. That you can respect people who believe things you don't. Although, the fact that the Pinkie sense is definitely and unequivocally real kind of hinders the potential for a respect other people's beliefs story. This inevitably shifts the message from respect the beliefs of others even if you don't believe them, to respect the beliefs of others because they're right. So, which of these two episodes is worse? It's a tough choice, but I'm going to have to go with Sorry Wrong Ed. That's not to say that Feeling Pinkie keen is a good episode, mind you. The main moral is poorly done with some unfortunate implications. For one, it shows that the beliefs that Twilight is skeptical about to be unequivocally true. Next, Twilight Sparkle learns her lesson by believing Pinkie Pie as opposed to her learning to respect beliefs that she herself does not hold. Without the moral, the main appeal to the episode is its comedy, and as I talked about earlier, I think the comedy isn't that great. While not terrible, slapstick is not this show's strength. So why do I think Sorry Wrong Ed is worse? 2 words. Double D. Feeling Pinkie keen at the very least had likable characters throughout it. Sorry Wrong Ed does not. While Eddy faces more and more pain and suffering, Double D does nothing but jeer and mock him. As much as I like Ed, he does not come close to making up for how just abhorrent Double D acts. To put it simply, Feeling Pinkie keen is a boring episode with likable characters and some unfortunate implications, while Sorry Wrong Ed is just plain infuriating.
Could be all those swooning adolescent girlfriends that reside in your own mind.
Yellow?
I don't know who you are.